get ready for energy lockdowns, because they're already here right now for some countries, and they are going to be rippling through the world. Now, if you have a weak disposition and you don't like anything scary, you're the sort of person that covers their eyes when something scary scene comes on the movie, you probably shouldn't watch this video. And I mean that very, very seriously, because I am going to tell you the worst case scenario that has been forecast. And even when I read it, it really made my hairs stand on end. And I mean that genuinely when I read the worst case scenario forecast. Now, you may have seen, because it's been about 3 days now that this report has been going around from the IEA, and this is called Sheltering from Oil Shocks. So I've actually downloaded the report. I've gone through the whole report, and I've highlighted a lot of key points for you. But not only have I done that, but I've also taken all of that data. I've collected the data from all of the other countries. I've looked at it's great having AI for some of this now. I've collated a lot of the reports, the worst case scenario reports from other countries around energy blackouts, and I've collated this into one succinct video for you. And if you think, well, it's very unlikely, Neil, for this stuff to happen, I promise you, ladies and gentlemen, some of these things will happen. We've already seen some of and this is a worst case scenario for Cuba, where they said that the ventilators would stop working and people would die in hospitals. That has already been a reality. So I just want to let you know, this is not, scaremongering here. This is absolutely what is possible, and some of the things that are already taken place. And this is why I've been saying for the last 3 or 4 weeks now, the media is really downplaying the severity, the gravity of what is going on right now. And it's not looking to improve. If anything, it's looking to worsen. The strikes on all the Russian oil refineries have been intense in the last week, unlike anything we've seen in this war. Not just that, we've now seen, 40 energy sites in the Middle East either destroyed or damaged. Europe has completely come off. The Russian energy is reliant on this LNG. All the tankers have turned around. They were all on their way to Europe. They've gone to Asia now because Asia's willing to pay more. This is really, really serious. So, okay, let's get into the report then. And for those of you that like visuals, this was from the IEA, and this is just a snippet of the report, okay? So they are recommending, it's basically energy lockdowns. This is the only way I can describe it. They are suggesting everyone works from home. They are saying that you should reduce the speeds that everyone can drive. Public transport use, but even that is cutting down public transport. Alternate car access in big cities. Increase car sharing. There's even things like, what is your reason? Are you a key worker? Do you need to go to work? There's all these things, but I want to go through and just talk about a lot of this, and it does get more serious and scary as we go along. So this was their 10-point plan, and this is the very weak plan, as it were. So working from home, they recommend working 3 out of 5 days a week from home. This is their recommendations. It's already gone out to most countries. In fact, it's pretty much all countries now that are developed in nature, but even the non-developed countries have received this report as well. It's all being talked about in the different governments. It's going through the departments right now. Reducing the speed limits dramatically, limiting private car access. So they're actually saying they recommend you can't even drive into certain cities now. They're saying that you need a reason to be able to do it. This was the one that I thought was very, very interesting. If you remember the COVID-style lockdowns, they said to reduce air travel by 40%. That is what they're suggesting. The airlines need to reduce flights by 40%, or there needs to be a good reason why you're taking that flight. This sort of stuff annoys me. It annoyed me during COVID as well. And as you know, well, if you don't know, some of you will like what I'm going to say, some of you will not like it. During COVID, I had 0 lockdowns. I didn't lock down at all. I carried on. I traveled all around the world like I normally do every year. I didn't do any of that stuff. Now, I say some of you won't like that because this is where the comments will come in. Oh, because of you, da 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 da. But look, I think a lot of this is intentional. I really do. You've seen the first lockdowns. We talked about how there's probably going to be some more lockdowns. And now they're talking about energy lockdowns. They're basically using this word. You're seeing it all over the media, governments, energy lockdowns. They're saying we need to reduce air travel. It's all reducing travel. And they're even saying in one of the other reports, this is why we need more 15-minute cities. This is why the work we've been doing for 15-minute cities is so important because of energy shocks and things like that. No, the energy shocks have been caused by a war. 2 wars, in fact. Russia, Ukraine, and then Iran. The people didn't cause this. You didn't cause it. I didn't cause it. It's been caused by leaders, whoever you want to put the blame on. It's being caused by leaders. So promoting public transport, so increasing the use of public transport, but they suggest walking or cycling. And there was a very interesting video doing the rounds of, I think it's the Philippines, where it's just, the streets are full of people walking to and from work at the moment. Seriously, so all these videos going around. Car sharing, carpooling, and if you can't carpool, you need a reason to travel. Eco-driving techniques, so prioritizing electric vehicles, which doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. Why would you prioritize electric if there's the possibility that you can use diesel or petrol? Like, wouldn't you balance it out? So that makes no sense. Why would you prioritize electric? Switching fuel methods, there's all of this stuff that they are talking about. Now, I'm going to come on to the worst case stuff in a minute. Just before we do that, let's just look at the oil price here. So again, people got really excited today. I love it when I get these emails. Ha ha ha, Neil told you it would come down. Yeah, and guess what? It's gone back. I keep telling you, we've got this resistance around $100 a barrel. And that's what we're seeing. It just keeps hitting this resistance. People love emailing me saying, ha 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 ha, you got it wrong. Well, look, we're back at $100 a barrel, ladies and gents. We're hitting this resistance, and I think it's only going to go up. Yeah, you might see it drop. There's some announcement that comes up. It could drop to $80 a barrel. It doesn't matter. You're going to see resistance at 100, and it's going to keep gradually going up. I'm still seeing 120, 125, 150 worst case scenario, but if they keep bombing the infrastructure, this is just going to keep running. What about silver? What about gold? This is the other question people keep asking me. It is dropping. Silver's dropping. Gold's dropping. Silver's at $72 an ounce at the moment. Gold's holding around $4,500 at the moment. This is what's happening. But let me tell you why I think gold and silver are doing this. If you look at mainly the institutions, the big financial players, they've got these enormous margin calls, huge margin calls at the moment. That is what they've got. So they're liquidating everything they've got, all sorts of assets. I don't think any of you should be selling your gold and silver unless you... let me take it off the shared screen. I don't think you should be selling unless you really need to be selling. I think, no, I'm not going to say people should be buying. People will take it as financial advice. But I think it's a big mistake that people are selling at the moment. And actually, let me let's go on to the worst case scenario stuff. So let's get into the worst case scenario here. So this is energy lockdowns. And these are compiled from a lot of reports. Remember that. These are government reports I've compiled a lot of this from. So it says in black and white, the energy lockdowns will be much more severe than the COVID lockdowns. Think about that for a moment. The energy lockdowns, they're saying, will be much more severe than the COVID lockdowns. Ladies and gentlemen, that is insane. That is crazy. You look at how severe the COVID lockdowns were. It's so strange as well. It feels like it was only last year. I don't know if you feel like that as well. And I don't know why that is. There's some sort of phenomenon going on in the world around timelines. But it feels like it was only a year or two ago. But yet, you think it started in 2019. We're in 2026 now. I know it's not 7 years, but it's It will be 7 years this year when all of this started. It doesn't seem like that long ago. There's something, it's just very bizarre how it keeps going on. But they're saying in black and white, this will be more severe than the COVID lockdowns because, well, we'll get into that in a second. But before I give you the really severe forecast here, I have got to mention the channel sponsor here, and that is Monetary Metals. So you've seen gold prices and what they've been doing. They've been hitting new highs this year. They've gone down. They've corrected a little bit at the moment, which gives you a good buying opportunity. But what if there were a way for you to make your gold work for you rather than it sitting idle in storage or you paying fees to store it? So that's exactly what Monetary Metals is doing. They're a channel. They sponsor the channel here because I believe in them. And they've created a groundbreaking way for clients to earn up to a 4% yield on their gold, which is paid in gold. So you don't have to sell your metal. You don't have to convert it into cash. You simply earn more ounces of gold over time. Monetary Metals runs a transparent marketplace that leases gold to businesses that use it productively. Think about, jewelers and refiners. And the returns from those leases go straight back to you as clients, and it's paid in gold. It's not paid in cash, it's paid in gold. So it's a very simple, sound, and fully asset-backed model designed for people who understand real value and want to grow their wealth in honest money. Monetary Metals is all about building real, sustainable wealth in the world's most trusted asset, gold. So whether you own gold already or you're looking to start, you can fund an account with your existing metal. You can transfer it over to them. They'll arrange that for you. Or you can buy it for them at less than 1% over spot. So you're actually getting it almost at spot price. So you can join thousands of investors who are already earning a real return in gold every month. Just visit monetary-metals.com/NMW, that's my initials, Neil McCoy Ward, NMW, to learn how to earn a yield on gold, which will be paid in gold for you. Okay, so let's go on to now. Here we go. Are you ready for this? Make sure you're sat down for this. Number one, again, these are worst case scenarios. Immediate daily survival hits. These are things like cold weather, hot weather, darkness, no basics. So it says homes and businesses limited to low energy caps. The heating could be 15 to 18 degrees Celsius maximum. So 18 degrees, not too bad, I think, especially if you're acclimatized. 15 degrees in winter is, especially if there's a wind chill, is pretty chilly actually. You've also got to think about those people with disabilities and things like that. Doesn't mention anything about that here. There would be power on only at certain hours, although they would induce rolling blackouts. In winter, they warn, these are the reports, they warn there could be widespread hypothermia, especially for older people or the elderly, those in badly insulated homes. You'd see excess deaths spike. Real fuel poverty is already, affecting people around the world anyway. So this would only multiply it. People wouldn't be able to turn on their heating or even afford it because the cost would be so severe. No air conditioning in summer heat waves. These would be banned completely, which would be insane. Fridges and freezers may need to be turned off under government mandates. What would this result in? Food would be spoiled. You've got meat in the freezer. It would rot. You'd have to. This is crazy talk. Cooking would be impossible if electric or gas were restricted for that. Water pumps, treatment plants would fail without any power. You'd see shortages, contamination. Boil water orders or none at all. Toilets or sewage could back up. You'd have to use rainwater. They talk about buckets and rainwater for doing that. I mean, what if it's the middle of summer? How are you going to... That doesn't even make any sense. How are you going to fill up a bucket to flush the toilet? It says no, we'll be polite here. So it's talking about flushing number 2, but leaving number 1. Oh gosh, that'd be pretty stinky after a while, but okay. Dark homes, no internet, TV, charging. They're saying that certain heavy usage devices could be restricted. No Zoom calls or videos or streaming, etc. You think what this would do, actually. You think of the depression and the mental health issues that took place during the lockdown period. And that's when you could speak to other people over devices. Imagine if they stopped that. Imagine if they stopped streaming. You'd see all sorts of stuff. You'd see domestic violence, alcoholism, drug abuse. It would just be crazy, this stuff. Second point then, this is health and medical system breakdown. So hospitals on diesel generators, all sorts of things. Surgeries would be cancelled, ventilators, oxygen, dialysis, these would fail in blackouts. Home medical devices would be pretty useless, they wouldn't work. This goes on and on. It's hard even reading through all this, just thinking about the impact on the people. But there would be a shortfall in ambulances because they wouldn't have enough fuel. They would only respond to the most urgent of cases. Same with the police and emergency services. Food, water, and supply chain collapse. So farms can't run irrigation because they wouldn't be able to pump the water. Tractors or processing. Tractors wouldn't be able to get the diesel they need. You'd see massive crop and livestock losses. Empty shelves would be almost straight away. There'd be massive panic buying. And just a point on that, have you seen what's happening in Australia at the moment? If you're an Australian viewer, which is I think it's about 10% of my subscribers, please leave a comment. I know you're not going to see this stream until tomorrow, but let us know around the rest of the world if it's true what we're seeing. It's over 500 gas stations now, completely out. They don't know when they're going to be restocked. Criminals are siphoning gas off. This is what we're being told. They're siphoning gas out of people's tanks, like completely draining it. Criminal gangs are doing all sorts of crazy stuff in the cities. It just goes on and on and on. They said they might not be able to collect waste, your waste disposals. Do you remember when I walked around Birmingham? Do you remember what that looked like when they didn't collect the waste? Stinking rats the size of cats and all sorts. We don't want to even go down there. They said supermarkets distribution would halt without refrigeration trucks. We could even go to a World War II style of rationing cards for basics. There'd most likely be black markets, which the government and police would have to try and control. Why? Just let it run. Price explosions, huge inflation in food. It's said for many countries there would be starvation risk in weeks if it was prolonged. It says 1970-style shortages showed how quickly food prices inflation hit, and this would be worse with enforced limits from the government. So it says starvation would happen in weeks, and they don't actually mention Western countries, but definitely in developing nations this would hit. But would it happen in Western countries? Well, let's think about that for a moment. A lot of people, as we know, they don't store any food. They don't have any long life food. I've told you before about my friend. He lives in an apartment. I think he's about 60 floors up. Which doesn't, I tell him all the time. I'm like, have you got a backup plan? No, I'll be fine. The world's fine. He just doesn't believe anything I say. But anyway, that's another story. He's watching this right now. He never misses a video. He doesn't keep any food. He orders his food every day, or he goes to the supermarket, keeps about 2 days, 3 days worth of food in the house, all fresh. I tell him all the time, you are going to get hammered when this hits. But there we go. So this would hit a lot of people. People like that, how are they going to even get down? Because it says that there would be, the elevators would be turned off. The government would insist that elevators are turned off. People will have to take the stairs. 60 floors. Who's going to take 60 floors? How are you going to carry water? I mean, this stuff is worst case, of course. Number 4 is transport and mobility lockdowns. So fuel rationing, they said this is almost a certainty. Odd and even days like the 1970s. So if you have an odd number, you can't go to the fuel station. Public transportation would have to be slashed as well. They'd encourage more cycling and walking. And if you can't walk to your job, then tough luck, basically. You'll have to work from home. It said you won't be able to commute. Groceries will be difficult. Visit doctors only if it's urgent, or evacuations. Goods won't move. Everything from medicine to parts will stop. Economic and job devastation. They say it would be far worse than what happened during the lockdowns, the COVID lockdowns. Energy-intensive sectors, this is manufacturing, offices, retail, data centers, they would all be shut. Unemployment would hit 20 to 40% in worst-case scenario. This is insane. Small businesses would go bankrupt en masse. And if you think about it, SMEs employ the bulk of workers. So you can imagine the employment scarring cycle that you learned about on Friday from the walk and talk. This would just... You can see, I'm even shocked reading this out at the scale of what may happen if this isn't reversed right away. Government currency printing would happen as well. Mass currency creation in order to give money to people, stimulus which will only go into inflation as well. Number 6, social order and breakdown. Riots, looting, protests would happen right away. Home invasions for food if people haven't got food. Migration, massive amounts of migration. People would have to leave the big cities if their accommodation isn't conducive for living. Now, it says here for long-term societal damage consequences. This says if the crisis goes on for months, as at this point, months. It says the economy will contract massively. It doesn't give a number here because, again, this is based on different reports. Education will have to stop, so there'll be no schools. It'll be education from home by parents. Innovation, investment freezes, potential grid collapse or civil breakdown, excess death from heat, cold, starvation, untreated illnesses. Okay, this goes on and on and on, ladies and gents. This, I think you can get the idea here of why I said it made my hair stand on end when I was collating all these reports and putting it into this big, I used AI to condense everything, consolidate everything. And some of these are actually plays, that they are exercises. They've already been modeled. These are emergency crisis scenarios that have been modeled. These are some of the things that would take place and will happen. Now, how likely is this? That's the question. How likely is this? Well, let's have a look at a couple of articles from today. This is today. The Philippines has declared a state of emergency in the country. Vietnam, Bangladesh is about to run out of oil. Look, you can see it here, in 3 weeks. Slovenia has now become the first EU country to introduce fuel rationing. So that's Europe, Slovenia, Europe, fuel rationing. Now you think Europe spent 3 years moving to the LNG. They moved away from Russian oil and energy. What on earth is Europe going to do? They're having these emergency crisis meetings, but they honestly, if you read some of the transcripts, they don't have an answer. They genuinely don't have an answer to this. They don't know what they're going to do. And here's something that I got today. So I folded it over so you can't see my address here, but this is from the company that supplies me. And it says, "Dear customer, due to the ongoing situation in the Middle East and the resulting volatility in global fuel prices, we are currently unable to provide indicative prices for any new orders." This, ladies and gentlemen, is why I told you 3 weeks ago now, fill up, get all your energy now. If you're on oil tank, fill it up right away while it was 60p a litre or whatever. I think mine was 60p I filled up at 3,000 litres. I said, do it today, get it all booked in. When I called up, they didn't even have a clue. They were clueless. They didn't even see, no one had called. They didn't even realise this was going to happen. So they said, so far they've been insulated from the increase. However, unless the situation stabilises soon, our next shipment of fuel is likely to arrive at a significantly higher cost than the last. We're monitoring the developments closely and hope the situation improves before our next shipment. It's not going to improve. Prices are rising, at which point we'll be able to resume quoting. Currently, there are no concerns regarding supply. Yes, there are. If you are an automatic delivery customer due a delivery soon and are concerned, please call us. Thanks for your understanding and patience during this time. And people all around the world are getting these letters at the moment. Everywhere, people are getting these letters. What else have we got? Italy has cut fuel taxes by 25 cents a litre. Spain has slashed VAT on fuel, gas and electric from 21% to 10%. Philippines, national emergency. Pakistan closed a school. They've banned official travel. And they've declared work from home. Sri Lanka, fuel rationing by license plates number. Indonesia, boosting coal production. Again, work from home policy, so lockdowns. Greece, fuel subsidies, fertilizer support. 11 tankers have changed course as well. Here we go. Let's just show you this so you can actually see that on the screen share. So here we go. These tankers that were on the way to Europe to offload actually turned around, and they're now going, you can see that the trajectory, the route, they're all going to Asia now. So this is another thing that has taken place. Europe is absolutely screwed. They just don't know it yet. The Netherlands, even worse. Do you know that they poured cement into their gas wells? What moron authorizes that? Who pours cement into gas wells so they can't be used because of the net zero? This wasn't recent. This was for the net zero stuff. It is ridiculous. It's gosh, they are deliberately doing some of this stuff. Taiwan, LNG for 40% of power, the electrical grid, power generation, 40%. They've got around 11 days left. That's Taiwan. Semiconductors, anybody? South Korea is another one. They've just mandated odd license numbers. We haven't seen this since the 1970s. And this is starting today. All public sector employees in South Korea will be banned from driving. At the moment, it's 1 day a week and they're going to monitor it. So they're banned, completely banned, and it's based on their last digit of their license plate. The government initially considered making this mandatory for the private sector as well, but they're holding off at the moment because they don't want to see truck drivers and delivery drivers disproportionately affected by this. There's a 12-point emergency plan they're putting into place, this South Korea. The IAEA said 40 energy sites across the Middle East have been damaged and can't deliver at the moment. Goodness me, this is crazy. What about this one? Let me show you on the shared screen here. For you Australians again, NSW Premier calls for COVID-style protocol, lockdowns, we should say, as fuel crisis explodes. These are just all of the stories coming out today. How on earth? Ukraine just again bombed another Russian oil terminal. 60 million tons a year come out of this. And they've just bombed this so Russia can't export oil to the rest of the world and make a profit from it. Now, some of you will probably watch that and say, well, great, we don't want Russia making any money because of the war. No, it's not great. Put the war to the one side here. Russia could have provided energy and offset a lot of this problem. But instead, now with the British help, believe it or not, the British help Ukraine to bomb all of these sites. This is insane. This goes on and on, ladies and gents. It goes on and on. I could talk about this all day. I've got 100 stories I could cover. Probably only covered a very small portion of them today. This is not good, okay? Make sure you've got yourself well positioned, set up right for all of this. I don't really know what else to say. This is getting worse. People don't know what they're talking about who are commenting on a lot of this. Oh, it's all going to be fine. Give it a couple of weeks. Everything will be back to normal. They shouldn't even be able to speak on the media when they're saying this, because they're going to cause irreparable harm and damage to families everywhere who are not going to get prepared because they're believing these morons that say everything's going to be fine in a couple of weeks. It's not. Just a reminder about the channel sponsor today. Check that out in the description. Apart from that, I'll see you on the next video. Take care. God bless. Stay safe out there. See you for the Friday walk and talk.